Hey everybody, this is Perch. Here's this has been something I've been thinking about a lot too, and maybe you can help. So email goes, dear Perch a lot. All right, I'm not as fond of that one. After Dark Crisis, it feels like DC is pushing the Young Justice aside for the next generation of teen heroes. But seriously, what characters are DC even trying to replace them with? John and Jackson Hyde are either the same age or even older than the Young Justice crowd. Yara Fleur is a grown ass adult, and emphasis on the grown ass. Am I right? Clearly a man of culture here. Wallace doesn't even have his own name, and don't get me started on Teen Lantern. Even Damian is competing with Tim to be Robin. Honestly, this new generation of teen heroes is a complete mess. Rather, like the teens in the United States, am I right, you bastard kids? Sorry, anyway. Rather than retcon these characters to be younger or introduce yet more teen characters to flood the shelves, what would you do to set up this next generation, new generation for success? Also, side note, I think it's funny the MCU is setting up the Young Avengers and Champions, even though they haven't had any books in years. Well, I mean, like that matters to the MCU. Yeah, no. So I think DC. I'm going to take this topic a little further. Beyond just the teen heroes, and kind of overall. And Marvel, by the way, definitely has the same problem. But we'll stick to DC for the moment. There is this kind of odd, just very very odd. Uh, I don't know the best way to put it. Just craziness when it comes to new characters at the big two. And if you look at DC, you remember the new age of heroes? And they were all teens, but you got some new heroes there. And, it obviously didn't work. The problem was the premise of it was built on amazing, top level creators are going to bring you something new. And then almost immediately, like, it was like, LOL, sorry, those creators are off doing so. We put them back on Batman and the big books. And you didn't think Jim Lee was actually going to draw a monthly title, did you dumbass? But anyway, it very quickly turned into what felt like a bait and switch, which is a shame because some of those characters are actually good characters, and had a lot of pretty decent potential, and could do interesting things. But they got for lack of a better word, buried uh, under this marketing campaign that failed around the creators, and then the company didn't really need to know what to do with it, and then we, well, shit, let's do another Crisis, and that's kind of where we landed. I think that's the current state of DC, and again, land Marvel too, but that's current state of DC. So when you're talking about this next generation of heroes, this new group, new faces, um, I think you do have a real problem because it doesn't feel like any strategy is sticking. And I think the culprit behind this is pretty obvious. It takes a while for these characters to stick. I mean, on some level, I hear people say that in the publishers that, hey, look, you need to do new heroes because without new heroes, we wouldn't have gotten Harley Quinn and Deadpool. I mean, they were new characters, and sure, both were introduced in the 90s, so 30 years ago. I mean, is that new still? I mean, they were new at one time. That's true. But the point I'm making here is that, and Rob Liefeld said the opposite. But look, the numbers are what they are. When Deadpool was introduced as a new character in New Mutants, or was it X Force? No, it was New Mutants. So then you show up at X Force. Was it? My memory escapes me now. Anyway, when Deadpool was introduced, the character was not an immediate breakout smash hit. People liked it, don't get me wrong, but the character wasn't Wolverine level by any stretch of the imagination. The person who was at that smash hit level was Rob Liefeld. He was the reason that people were interested in that, in that character and a lot of that kind of stuff is because of Rob. And that's big credit to him. He, as a superstar artist, he brought attention and brought, awareness to the characters, and it was successful, what he did. The character took a while to grow and become popular. When they later did Cable Deadpool. It got a little bit more popular, and then kind of it faded a little bit, and then came back again. And Deadpool now is, a major character for Marvel, but it took a long time. The same thing's true with Harley Quinn in terms of how she was introduced, and through the cartoon and in the comic, and then it took a while for that character to take off. But what you notice with both those characters is they kept trying, they kept doing different things, they kept putting the character into the spotlight. Sometimes they did it right, sometimes they screwed it up. It wasn't like every choice was perfect to get people there, but it took a while. And I want to, re-emphasize the point. I was, not exactly, but it was 30 years ago. So if you're looking at, the next generation, if you're looking at, say, Teen Lantern, how long is it going to take Teen Lantern to become a super popular character? More than a year, more than a couple months. It's going to take decades, if it ever happens at all. There's plenty of characters that are introduced in the 90s that didn't work for. Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider, half new character, half kind of legacy identity. There's a big cult following for him. People who like that character. But again, there was a lot of work that had to be put in. They did not do a 4-issue series and then it's like smash it, no matter what the marketing tells you. I mean, I have to laugh when I see stuff like the Daughter of Blade. It's like, and they're already marketing it as the smash new hit character everyone is talking about. Okay. Come on. I'm a believer in marketing and advertising and try to put your best foot forward. But, there's a difference between putting a foot forward and just leaping a mile and landing on your face. Don't overreach. The problem is when you overreach like that, it smells phony. It does the opposite. It's so fake and so obviously transparent that people start to resent the character just on the basis of your marketing, let alone anything that's happening in the book. But to the question, what's going on with Teen Heroes? Time needs to go on. I think Damian is a good example. Okay, Damian's coming up on 20 years, or is that right? I think I think coming up on 20 years. The character is popular, does have his own personality, is his own thing, but again, it's going to take more time to really lock that character in. It's going to take good decisions, good promotion of the character. It's going to take, in other words, effort. Wallace West, yeah, I mean, forget about it. Like, again, you can put in the effort. If you want the character to go over, you have to put in the effort, but you cannot expect that, some of these characters, well, it's been around for a while as a New 52 character, but you can't expect some of these characters to, be hugely popular after, 6, 8 issues. I was catching up with somebody and they were going, I don't know. It's like, it feels like Joe Mullen should be more popular. And I'm like, how in the world? You've got Far Sector. She's shown up in a handful of other very blink and you miss it appearances. She was part of Jeff Thorne's series. But this character doesn't even have 5 years of life in the company and a handful of appearances and nothing that's really defining. I look, this is going to sound super obvious, but, one way to get a character over, you get Rob Liefeld on it. Not just Liefeld, but look, if you got a new character and you want to promote it, like we saw with a lot of characters in the 90s, it helped when you paired a superstar artist on the book. You get Jim Lee, you get Sean Murphy, you get Brett Booth drawing the character and give a few appearances that way. It magically, it's amazing. The character gets more popular because they look cool. Because but you got to put in that effort. All of these efforts that are like 4-issue, 5-issue limited series that are being shot out with unknown artists that the marketing tries to convince you of, like superstar breaking artist, blah, blah, guy you've never heard of. Like, that's not going to do it. If you truly want to build the next generation of heroes, teens or otherwise, and I agree, it's a complete mess. If you want to do that, then you're going to need to take time. It's going to take years. It's worth that investment. I mean, would you right now say it wasn't worth the investment into Deadpool and Harley Quinn? Of course not. Characters are now $1 billion license franchises. Of course, obviously the work was worth it. So why are we kind of shortcutting stuff and then going, well, it's been 6 months. I don't know. Let's scrap and try something new. You're never going to get anywhere with that. And that's what a lot of the Young Justice teen next generation of DC heroes. I mean, look, one of the things DC is doing that's baffling is they're going, it's time for the Justice League to step aside. The Teen Titans have their moment. The Teen Titans are going to, finally get the spotlight they deserve to kind of carry the torch for DC. Sounds great. One thing that cuts that off at the knees is by announcing that, hey, in the fall we're going to be relaunching Justice League. What are you doing? If you're gonna commit to that bit, and for the record, I wouldn't commit to that bit. Justice League is a good brand, and you should, you can do both. But if your entire premise is the Justice League had their time, and now the Titans are going to come in and really be the premier superhero team, you have to give more than 4 months to do that. 4 months, not enough time to sell that message. So either don't come out with a Justice League book, or more appropriately, more correctly, come up with a different strategy, because that one's dumb. Anyway, what do you think of all this? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course. And thanks for listening.